The River Severn is Britain's longest river, running for 220 miles. It starts here in the Plinlimmon Hills and it's just 20 miles from the coast. However, this direction is downhill, so it runs with gravity to the northeast towards Shrewsbury and then curves around towards the south, and then its mouth is here in the Bristol Channel to the south of Wales. So its source is in the Plinlimmon Hills, which are an incredibly wet part of Britain. 2,500 millimetres of rainfall fall each year, and the ground is boggy moorland that soaks up the water, and then like a big sponge it just leaks the water out. And the River Severn starts as small rivulets, small streams that join together and then, as I said, head in this direction to the northeast. It then runs through the town of Shrewsbury, and there are incredible river bends or meanders going through the town, and then, as I've said, it runs south towards its mouth, which is here within the Bristol Channel. Now, in this presentation, we're going to be looking at, firstly, the landforms that are created along the River Severn, well, 3 of them, and we're going to be looking at the influence of geology and climate on these landforms. A landform is a recognisable shape in the land. By geomorphic processes, we mean the processes that Mother Nature is doing. And when we're looking at the influence of geology, we're looking at harder rocks and softer rocks and the influences that these have. Let's start with our first landform. We're looking at a waterfall. And this waterfall is called the Severn Breaks Its Neck. It's found in the Hafren Forest, which is very close to the source of the River Severn in those Plinlimmon Hills. Now, waterfalls form where you've got a layer of hard rock before a layer of soft rock. The layer of soft rock erodes away quicker than the hard rock, leaving a drop. And then, as the water swirls around in the base of the waterfall here in the plunge pool, hydraulic action and abrasion will be eroding away the soft rock underneath the hard rock. It undercuts the soft rock, leaving the hard rock overhanging, and eventually the hard rock collapses into the river because it's unsupported due to gravity, and the whole waterfall moves backwards, leaving a gorge. Now, the geomorphic processes involved are erosion processes, those of hydraulic action and abrasion. The influence of geology, well, it's the softer rocks eroding quicker than the harder rocks. That's how the drop forms, and it's how undercutting occurs. And then finally, what's the influence of climate on the formation of the waterfalls? Well, the Plinlimmon Hills are very wet. There's a huge amount of rainfall, 2,500 millimetres per year. This provides a huge amount of water to be doing the eroding. The cold and wet weather will also help to weather away the hard rock that is overhanging. Most likely mechanical weathering, frost action, water entering cracks in the rock, freezing and expanding helps to make the rock fall apart. Our second landform that we're going to be looking at is the meander. Now, all a meander is a river bend, and if we look at Shrewsbury here, you can see the River Severn curves from side to side. It meanders through the town of Shrewsbury. Now, what geomorphic processes are involved? Well, you've got erosion processes occurring on the outside bend of the river channel. As the water comes around the bend, momentum throws the water over to the outside of the bend, so erosion is occurring here. And on the inside of the bend, where the water is going slower and it is shallower and there is more friction, deposition occurs. So rock is dropped down to the bottom of the bend. This helps the river bends to change position and grow wider over time. What's the influence of geology? Well, if you've got softer rocks, they will erode quicker and these meander bends will form more speedily, whereas harder rocks will erode more slowly. The influence of climate, again, huge amounts of rainfall in the Plinlimmon Hills provides the water to be doing this erosion. Our final landform we're going to be looking at is Levees, and we can find Levees near Sudbrook, which is near the mouth of the River Severn in the Bristol Channel. All a levee is a raised bank or a ridge of earth found next to a river. They occur when rivers flood. So when a river bursts its banks, when the river floods, rock and sediment and sand and silt will be carried out of the river onto the land that surrounds the river. The heaviest and largest particles will be deposited right next to the river, and the smaller particles can be carried further away from the river. What this means is if we're constantly dropping the larger particles next to the river and the smaller particles further away, natural ridges of land form next to the river, and we call them levees. So the geomorphic processes involved, well, it's deposition, the dropping of rock. The influence of geology, well, weathering and erosion further up the river channel near the source of the river provides the pieces of rock that can be dropped onto the floodplain during the floods. The influence of climate is there's so much rain that the discharge of the River Severn when it enters the Bristol Channel is 107 cubic meters of water per second. And this fast, rapid movement of water provides lots of material and sediment that can be dropped onto the floodplains during the time of a flood. Here is a summary of the 3 landforms that we've looked at today. If you want more information about any of these landforms, see the individual videos that explain each of their formation.